Muse. Are you happy to see me again, this time with clothes on? That's right, I put clothes on just for you. Isn't that fun? Whee! We're all wearing clothes. I don't know if my Muse wears clothes or not. I don't care. Wear what you want, Muse. It's a free world. Okay, look. I have something that I want to talk to you about that I believe that a lot of artists have experienced before. And I think that a lot of people can relate to this. And I need to preface it by saying that I am not in any way, shape, or form patting myself on the back, because that is not my shtick. Ever. I don't pat myself on the back, because really, what good does it do besides make you look like an absolute douchebag? So that's not what this is. I think that people understand what the point of this little lesson is at the end, I hope. Fingers crossed. So I got the edits back from Fear 2, Fear Dos. And they were pretty typical. I could predict what my editor was going to do because I know what I do wrong a lot. Meaning commas, just whatever. So as I'm going through the edits, I'm like, yes, of course. And it didn't take me, it took me maybe 3 days to get through them all. But at the end of the book, the last comment that the editor made was, I absolutely love this book. It's your best work yet. Now, I should just have left it at that. I just said it should have been awesome. That's great, because I make it very clear. I'm very transparent artist here. So I make it very clear that my goal is to always make sure that the work that I'm doing now is better than the work I did before. So mission accomplished, right? Yay! And that's a good thing. It really is. I'm not complaining. I love that my editor loved this book so much, because I did too. I really enjoyed writing Fear 2. And I think I came up with some incredibly unique takes on the apocalypse. But I'm an artist, right? And no matter how hard I fight it, no matter how hard I push it into the dark recesses of the darkness, I still have an ego, right? We all have egos. Everybody. It's not just artists. The ego is not just limited to artists. Trust me. Just climb up the food chain here in America, and at the very top, you'll see one of the biggest egos you have ever experienced. But that's not what I'm talking about. So in the back of my mind, in the back of my artist mind, when I read that comment, I'm like, wait a second. This is a post-apocalyptic book, and the book that I wrote before that, which is Defying Gravity, was a piece of what you called literary fiction genius. And how is this book better than that book? What? How? What? Huh? I don't get it. There was this part of me that truly wants people to read Defying Gravity and say, oh, this is the ultimate book. This is the best thing ever written. Of course, we always want to hear that. We always want to think that. But when your editor says that the book you've written after that book is the best thing you've written, you think, but what? And now, I get it. I really get it. And I get it on multiple levels. And let me explain. As an actor, I have done a shit ton of shows. A lot of shows. And there are some of those shows that are incredibly dear to me. And I can't help but want those shows to be as dear to the audience. Take, for instance, Cabaret, which I talk about a lot because that show is one of the dearest that I've ever experienced. The thing is that there's such a dichotomy here, okay? And this, let me try to help you understand, those of you who are not artists, let me try to help you understand what it's like in the artist's brain. How complex, convoluted, and chaotic it is up there. So I did Cabaret, and to me that was one of the most important shows I had ever done. Okay? And I've done shows after Cabaret. I've done shows before Cabaret. Before Cabaret, I would be hard-pressed to tell you right now which show was the single most important in my life. And probably, before Cabaret, was probably the show I did on Broadway, The Great Gilly Hopkins. So, the thing is, though, is that people are going to come to you, and they're going to say, oh my God, you were so great in Cabaret, or you were so great in The Great Gilly Hopkins. And as an artist, one of the first things you're going to think is, well, I've done other shows. I've done other shows than The Great Gilly Hopkins and Cabaret. Won't you remember those? And then your artistic brain goes to war with itself to say, yes, but Cabaret was truly important. So it's a good thing that they remember you for that. And then the other side of your artistic brain says, yeah, but they're not remembering me for anything else. I'm only this to them. I don't want to just be this to them. I want to be a whole rainbow of things to them. You see where the confusion and chaos comes into play? You want to be known as this, but if you're only known as this, it neglects all of the other things. So at the same time, you want to be known as this, but you want to be known as all of this, of all the things that you've done. It's like, I have written over 40 books, and I would love for somebody to come up to me and say, oh my God, I love you for every book you've ever written. But that's not the way it is. People have favorites. I have people that reach out to me and say, oh my gosh, A Blade Away is my favorite book of yours. That was one of the first books I ever wrote. And I'm very grateful for that. I am so grateful when someone comes to me and says that they loved this book that I wrote 20 years ago. Especially knowing that how much I have improved since I wrote that first book. Of course, I could say, yeah, but you should probably try to read one of these later books too. I don't say that. I say thank you so much. That means a lot to me, because it really does. It's honest. It's the truth. I'm not complaining. This is not me whining about anything. This is me trying to help non-artists to understand the chaos that happens in the artistic brain when we just get a simple compliment. It's like the old, you know the story of actors going to see other actors in shows, and they're either they see the show and they're jealous of what they see, or they don't like what they see, and they try to figure out what they can say to the actor to make them think that that they did like it. So they come up with this crazy thing. Oh, your performance was fine, but we all know what the fine word means. And there's so many things that actors can say to other actors to make them think that they liked what they saw, when in reality they probably didn't, or maybe they were jealous, they wish they were in the production. Art is so confusing. Actually, not art is confusing. Being an artist is confusing. It's really a challenge sometimes. Just to take a compliment, just when somebody says, oh my God, this was your best book. But what about that one? And what about that one? And what about all those in between? Didn't you like those? You see how hard this can be? Instead of hearing, this is my favorite book you've written so far, we hear, I like this book, I didn't like your other ones. Here's the thing. When your editor says to you, after every book you've written, this is your best work so far, that should be the end of it. And you should be grateful that, number one, that the editor loved your work, and number two, that you're improving with every book you write. That should be the end of it. So, as a lesson to those of you who are not artists, please cut us a little bit of slack. Because there's a lot going on between here and here. And sometimes the pathways aren't either connected properly or they're very circuitous. And now, to artists, stop reading into things. Take the compliment for what it is. If somebody loved work X, then isolate it to work X. Don't make it mean that they loved work X, but they hated works A through Y. No. A through V. Sorry. Because if they loved A through Y, that includes X. See? Goodness gracious. Anyway, I'm thrilled that Fear 2 is my editor's favorite book so far. I can only imagine what she's going to say when I get Fear 3 written. She's probably going to do backflips and cartwheels. Either that or I'm just going to fail miserably. And she's going to say, what happened? See what I did? See what I did there? Look, trust your instincts and take the compliments for what they are. And for you out there who are not artists, I'm not telling you to be very cautious with your words. I'm just telling you that when you pay us a compliment, it means the world to us. And if we don't always react the way you expect us to react to that compliment, it's not because of you. It's not you, it's us. It really is. It's not you, it's us. We sometimes just don't know how to process the compliment in a way that is complimentary to you and to your feelings. Because our egos can be so fragile and we fight that every day. I've reached a point where my ego and me, we've had words enough. And I have sat that ego down and I have said, listen here, buddy, you need to cool your jets. It also helps that way back in undergraduate school, I had my ego pretty much beaten out of me by the chairman of theater at the school. So, I have an ego, obviously, we all have egos, but my ego does not rule my life. There are times it does pop up, like when my editor says, this is my favorite work of yours, this is your best work yet, and I go, oh, but what about that? Anyway, it's touch and go. As an artist, it is touch and go. But the best thing you can do is the best you can do. Always be trying to do your best. Always be trying to be better than what you were previously. Not just as an artist, but as a person. Be a good human. Be a good human, better human today than you were yesterday. Be a better artist today than you were yesterday. Strive to have your editor or your director or your producer say, what you're doing now is so much better than what you were doing yesterday. And don't take that to mean that yesterday sucks. Take that to mean today is an improvement. It's hard, but you can do it. Why? I think you know the answer to that. Because you, my artist friends, and you, Muse, and you, my non-artist friends, I must not forget you, are all awesome.